shelves in Koriyama town. The cream box smiles, no frowns around. Soft and sweet with a glowing hue. It's the perfect snack for me and you.
Hello everybody, welcome back.
Fresh source from near, but what's in the air might not be clear. Take a bite, don't think too much. Locals cheer with every touch.
This song about radioactive food from the nuclear wasteland being promoted to children at 7-Elevens. It's called Cream Box. You'll find it at James Lucett's site on YouTube. Welcome back to another madness. China says they didn't find anything in the ocean off Fukushima. It was equal to like having banana and potato chips on an airplane in a canoe. And the canoe part, you'll figure that out later. Always takes me a minute or two to get up to speed. YouTube censorship is really something. Just imagine looking your children in the eyes and say you didn't know anything about Fukushima. And then out censoring the only handful of people that are actually having a conversation. Imagine looking at your dying child and saying, well, my friends at Google, they didn't know anything about Fukushima, honey. We would have stopped it. What kind of monster you got to be to work at Google censoring people like me and you? Because that's what they are. They're monsters, right? What did the monsters let us see tonight? We got 4 likes on a show I've been doing for a decade. Over a decade. 7 viewers. Is the Gook's nuke tart assertions that no radiation was found off Fukushima nuclear plant idiotic and sadistic? Yes, of course it is. What was really interesting is they didn't put their names to any of the stories. We don't know who done the studies. We don't know who took the samples. We don't even know which province in China they came from, let alone a university or government agencies. So basically they're saying it's equal to eating a single potato chip, a banana where you're close to a granite countertop, in a canoe. And I couldn't get the picture to put a canoe on the plane for me for some reason. Races against canoes, I guess. China found no abnormalities where 36 reactors melted down. It's pretty crazy. China actually produced a radioactive fallout model. This is China's radiation model in 2020 or 2011. And this model stops at April 2025. So now they're out there saying that nothing happened. There was no China syndrome, according to China at Fukushima. China found no abnormalities. We don't give a fuck about abnormalities. We're looking for Radiation shit for brains. China exports pollution to United States. Think about this study. Think about the fact that they're using this picture. People in paper suits. And that building is supposed to be 190 feet tall. That's the stump of reactor 4.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster.
So that cunt is claiming she's on top of 150 feet above the stump to your left. Beijing said the findings did not necessarily mean the Chinks would lift its current ban on imports of Japanese seafood. Well, they've been banning the food since day 1, or day 2, or was it March the 13th or something? The food's out. China's one of the last ones of the 55 countries that banned food from 14 prefectures that still have a ban in place. Tests by domestic laboratories. They don't tell us the laboratories, they don't tell us who the people are, they don't tell you which institutions, universities, government agencies they're coming from. The ghost scientists. Concentrations of radioactive tritium. The whole fucking ocean is radioactive tritium because of the nuclear industry and the pulse event from Fukushima, which was 36 reactor cores. The whole fucking thing. Cesium-134, Cesium-137, Strontium-90. So, and Google, right, puts these stories, these blatantly fake stories, at the top of their search engines. They pump that out to every fucking person on the planet. And then anybody like me, or anybody that even swears, is censored. Oh, you can't go swear, guys. This is YouTube data. You don't send swearing on YouTube. Nobody on the planet's ever heard people swear before. Data, you're going to influence people. Anybody's going to hear me swear. Anybody's going to come to a nuclear show. This is not fucking Sesame Street, okay? Anybody coming to a nuclear show and never heard anybody swear before doesn't exist. Those people don't exist, okay? The people that are censoring me, they swear fucking more than I do, probably. What a fucking idiots. How do you get to be this stupid? How does that actually work? Give us a call if you're from fucking Google, shithead, brain, moron land. Or one of the chinks that were on this study. We're in Canada. And call collect you want. 709-589-4406. You can text me. How come all of them, just absurd amount, there's probably 50 of those stories. Not one of them told you who the academics, the scientists, the experts are, the institutions or anything. Nothing. Nothing. If you took 1 million nuclear scientists' names, put them in a bag and then reached in, took one out, you'll be closer. You'll have more information. You'll be more likely to find a name than you will from shit fucking for brains Google. Stupid, coward Google. Moron, idiot Google. And they destroy everybody so they can get a fucking paycheck every Friday. Normal limits, the chink Atomic Energy Authority says. Fucking gooks. There's Chinese and then there's fucking gooks, right? If you're from the nuclear industry in China, then you're a fucking gook. China imposed a full ban on seafood imports from Japan soon after, listen to this, after the discharge of the treated water. This is clearly International Atomic Energy Agency writing these stories. from the Fukushima nuclear power plant began in August 2023. What the fuck are you talking about? They banned the food on the 14th or 13th of March 2011. Like when you see these connotations like that there, that's the International Atomic Energy Agency fingerprint, right? When China's seen that doozy go off, reactor 3, the Medusa, the plutonium mixed oxide reactor, they banned the fucking food from stupid land, idiot land. China participating in monitoring of the discharges of treated water. How the fuck you gonna treat something from a nuclear meltdown? Under the framework established by the International Atomic Energy Agency that doesn't have any fucking authority. They're not a regulatory agency. They're sadistic demons. They don't have any sovereignty over any country. Why is anybody giving them 2 seconds of their fucking time for? Their job is to promote nuclear by cutting everybody on the planet's throat in every species. The day is coming when that industry is going to feel the fucking wrath of the entire planet. That's not too far away, I can guarantee you. That day is coming. There will be a reckoning. Worthless fucking scum, eh? Just worthless fucking scum. Just worthless fucking degenerate monsters. Hideous cowards, too. They're unfucking believable cowards. The cowards of the cowards. Don't even have the balls to call in, do they? Is China's nuke-tarts assertions that no radiation was found off the Fukushima nuclear plant idiotic and just genocide? That's omnicide and genocide to pretend this never happened. Eight viewers? Really? That's it? 8 viewers. Japan begins the 12th release of treated wastewater, not even fucking nuclear water, from the Fukushima nuclear plant, and they show you the stupidest picture imaginable. You're up by reactor 5 and 6. I'll explain all of this coming up. The Fukushima Daiichi plant on August 22nd, 2023. Ain't that an interesting picture? On August the 24th is when they came out and said there was no meltdowns, nothing ever got off the site, there was only a couple of grams of tritium in the 1,000 tanks, and the whole world was silenced. Unless you were protesting tritium, then you were put on the major medias. Oh, protesters are protesting the radioactive discharge, the treated water, wastewater from Japan. The amount of wastewater, every time I hear that word, I want to punch a nuclear scientist. To be discharged why are fucking nuclear scientists such cowards? Yeah, I guess 7 smart people. Yeah, that's right. The amount of wastewater to be discharged in this round is 7,800 tons. Consistent with previous rounds. Who fucking writes like that? It should be illegal to go to fucking work with a dildo up your fucking arse. The International Atomic Energy Agency would probably all quit their fucking jobs, right? Japan working to speed up decommissioning of Fukushima Daiichi reactors. Think about this story here. The people that are working at the most dangerous job in human history, that needs the most experienced people in human history. There's no Chinese there. No Chinese scientists went to work at Fukushima. No nuclear experts from China volunteered to go to Fukushima and help the homeless and the destitute. So is the nuclear scientist making $11 a day for their efforts, or is that the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society? And think about how revolting you actually got to be to allow that to happen, to sit by and then silence anybody that's going to have a conversation. This is what happens to you if you fly on a plane, right? You turn into a fucking banana. And for the first couple of years after Fukushima, I came out and attacked everybody that used the word banana. And I wasn't nice like I am tonight, for instance. Tonight I'm actually nice, believe it or not. I was livid. China chinks find no abnormalities in samples taken near Fukushima plant. Really? The chinks did. The Chink government upholds a people-centered approach and firmly safeguards the food safety of the fucking people. What are you talking about? Who writes this stuff? Like people stupid enough to write something like that is the International Atomic Energy Agency. China will keep on working with the degenerate, sadistic, hateful scum of the earth International Atomic Energy Agency. The worst humans ever fucking created work at that place. Or for that organization. They're literally the cowards of the cowards. They could be hotspots under the sea, Japan Times. Really, under the sea. Hotspots. No. China said nothing's in the fucking ocean. Says Tokyo professor. No telling when contamination levels will peak. 1/3 of the fish caught in Guna Lake over the maximum cesium limits. As if fucking cesium's the only thing that comes out of a nuclear meltdown. I think every academic who talked about Fukushima and cesium should spend the rest of their life doing hard labor in the fucking desert. TEPCO to begin coating seafloor with cement mixtures. None of this is true because China didn't say so, see? China detects no irregularities in the nuclear treated water from Fukushima. China's full of shit. New images from Fukushima Daiichi press tour, February 11, 2013. February 11, 2013. These pictures were released, or given out, handouts. And this is the ELPS decontamination system in 2013, February. China detects no irregularities, and they show you something. That's not even Fukushima. Fukushima contaminated water problems worsened. This was August 9, 2014. I have to clean my glasses again. I can't see if any chinks call my fucking phone. Fukushima contaminated water problems worsened. It was 36 reactor cores melted down. I'll show you that coming up after. We're just going to go easy tonight. We're not... it's the last show of the week, right? So I'm just going nice and easy, relaxed show. That's because we can't burn any nuclear scientists at stakes. Apparently that's illegal. I don't know fucking why. I can tell you one thing, it won't be legal forever. The day will come when that will be legal. I think everybody should have a pet nuclear scientist, right? You keep them in a cage in the future. When your friends come over, or your family comes over, then you give them sticks and they can poke them when they get bored during commercials or whatever. Great, it'd be nice, relaxing. I guarantee you the day's coming. I'll guarantee it. When everybody's going to be calling to be skinning every nuclear scientist on the planet while they're alive. Put a fucking IV in them. and let the skinning begin. China detects no irregularities in nuclear treated water from shit for brains, Fukushima. Let me go backwards. So they're hoping in August 9, 2014 to have the ELP system working in 2015, 4 years after Fukushima's 36 reactor cores detonated. There was 8 reactor cores at the top of each of the buildings, and there ain't no fucking top to the buildings. The Chinks detected no irregularities in the nuclear treated water from Fukushima. That's mighty nice of them. That's a nuclear scientist right there, by the way. He's famous, right? He's a hero. Just kidding you. Nuclear industry doesn't have a fucking hero. Not a single one in the entire nuclear industry. There's not a single person in the entire nuclear industry that any kid on the planet looks up to. Because they're all zeros, right? It's a very strange industry, right? If you go to one of their gatherings, the creep gatherings, they call them, every nuclear scientist you'll see, just look at him when he walks away from you, see all the shit stains. Their shit is different. They can't get it out of their pants. China reports no irregularities in Fukushima wastewater. Live data helps water release. And people that promote that stuff, the medias, think about how fucking sadistic you got to be to do that. Oh, and this story is pronouncing cesium with an A. That's the British. Only the retards that the British nuclear industry does that. Cesium. After special treatment, eh? Really? You didn't have the fucking ELF system built until 2015, and it didn't work, right? The same as the Reva system. Same as the Reva system. Let's just cover that because the fucking Chinese never gave us anything to go on. The Reva system is the same as the ELP system in 2014 in August, almost the end of 2014. For the last 3 years, the system was unused. It wasn't used at all. It was used to trick and fucking manipulate you. That's it. TEPCO can't bring the contaminated water issues under control at Fukushima. The ELPS is yet to function reliably. No, it didn't. It wasn't even fucking built. I just showed you that information. It wasn't even fucking built. On April 21st, 2014, it was far from being finished. That didn't stop him from coming out with stories saying that it was yet to function reliably. It didn't function at all. So 100 million atoms per cubic centimeter of radioactivity estimated for the Fukushima sludge. Per cubic centimeters. Imagine what a kilogram of this stuff is actually like. How are you going to filter this fucking stuff? That's what they're talking about, right? At 2011, there was no filtration. 2012, there's no filtration. 2013, no filtration. 2014, no filtration. 2015, it was acknowledged they had no filtration whatsoever. Nothing. The groundwater bypass operation is not having an effect. They can't stop the water from going through the site on top of that from the mountains. They couldn't build a fence because you can't build a fucking fence, you shit for brains, you fucking dummies, to keep radiation from getting into the ocean. It's the stupidest, literally the stupidest fucking thing ever written in human history that they were going to build a fence. The ice wall, of course. How could a fucking ice wall work when all the reactors were gone on day 5 on top of that? He said 260,000 people worked on the ice wall. 260,000. All he tells is the biggest fucking... Like, clearly whoever is putting out the narrative from the International Atomic Energy Agency is the stupidest fucking person on the planet. Can't tie their own fucking boots. Can't feed themselves. These people are fucking insane. Total of 260,000 people worked on creating the wall. If you gave them each $1,100, you ended up spending more money than they had, and you didn't buy a single thing, build a single thing. You just gave everybody $1,100. The fuck is 260 people? And we've never heard from a single one of them on top of that. But here's the real truth, look. And they're going to... TEPCO, this is 2013 with the BBC, Rupert Winfield Hayes. And TEPCO is going to tell you they have no control over the fucking water whatsoever. Nothing. I'm yelling at the stupid Chinese. The idiot fucking Chinese. And they're going to talk about how the 1,000 tanks that they got in 2013 are full from pumping up absurd radioactive water, allegedly, from underneath the buildings in an aquifer. Again, this is simply not true either. You can't walk over the hoses when you pump that kind of water. You can't walk past the hoses. You can't run past the hoses that you're sucking up the radiation from. And that the pumps can't work under these kinds of radiation anyway. But if you fill up the tank, you can't get back on the fucking site because you're talking about over 1 million sieverts in the tank. Which means you can't get back on the fucking site.
Fukushima plant sits smack in the middle of an underground aquifer. Deep beneath the ground, the site is rapidly being overwhelmed by water. Beneath the surface, water flows downhill and into the basement of the damaged reactor buildings. There it is contaminated with high levels of radiation. To stop the groundwater flowing on into the nearby ocean, engineers are building an underground barrier. But that is causing the groundwater level to rapidly rise. It's now so high the water will soon reach the surface. Then it will start flowing overground into the sea. This week, the company that owns Fukushima, TEPCO, made this disturbing admission.
We understand that this water discharge is beyond our control, and we do not think the current situation is good.
Outside experts say it's now clear TEPCO is incapable of handling the cleanup at Fukushima. It's time for the Japanese government to step in. The situation is already beyond what TEPCO can handle, he says. If it were possible to take proper measures, they would have done it already. It's not as if TEPCO is refusing to do what they can. They're doing everything they can, but there are no perfect solutions. Even if the government does step in, it's not clear what it can do. The only other solution is to pump out the contaminated groundwater and put it in storage tanks. But after just 2 years, the site is already jammed with more than 1,000 giant tanks. Most of them are already full up. At least 400 tons of new water pours into the site every day, and it's going to continue for years and years. Fukushima's water crisis has only just begun. Rupert Wingfield Hayes, BBC News in Tokyo.
So it only just begun and all the tanks were full in 2013. That's the official story. $400 tons a day is equal to 238 garden hoses at 30 pounds per square inch, which is your typical pressure into your homes, 30 pounds per square inch. Some places might be a bit more. And if you took 2 of your typical garden hoses, your washes your car with or whatever, that's what they're talking about. Pours into the site. What the fuck are they talking about? Everything is leaking out, but 2 garden hoses is considered pouring. There's a river that runs under the site. The site is built on shale, which is fractured rocks. So it's you can pour water, it'll go all the way down. It'll hit the river at when it gets to the old riverbed, and that'll get washed directly out into the Pacific Ocean. All nuclear power plants have that same. That's why they don't find too much radiation on the sites, because everything's meant to be washed straight down through the granite and then out into the rivers or the lakes or the oceans, right? The buildings are actually gone. How are you going to filter water that's at multiple sieverts per liter? And 3 sieverts is a lethal dose just walking past it or hanging out for a few minutes. You'll die that week. If you hang out for 10 minutes, you'll die that night. If you hang out for 20 minutes, you're not getting off the fucking site. So when you have millions of sieverts in each of the tanks, this stuff is going to settle at the bottom where people are too. So it's going to be even higher doses. And a lot of these are going to have neutron bombardments happening and criticality in the bottom of the tanks, because you have gammas, alphas, neutrons, and betas together. And because the population has been put to fucking stupid land by the Simpsons and SpongeBob and fucking Superman and Spider-Man and the Hulk. The social engineering, all these stories are about social engineering, right? When they come out and tell you there's no abnormalities, that's social engineering. But TEPCO says they got no fucking control. He got no control over the site. No control over the water. And I showed you evidence. The fucking filtration system couldn't work, didn't work, wouldn't work. They were built to control.
We understand that this water discharge is beyond our control, and we do not think the current situation is good.
And everybody's calling for TEPCO to remove. What the fuck was TEPCO in charge? So you don't blame the nuclear industry. But they're not a fucking decommission authority. They didn't build the reactors. How the fuck are they going to be? Why would you leave them in charge of something that can contaminate and destroy the entire fucking planet for? Why does it even exist on our planet in the first place? And why the fuck would you leave a company with no fucking idea what to do? So you don't blame the nuclear industries. You don't blame the International Atomic Energy Agencies, which shouldn't exist. Has no right to fucking exist. They have no right to exist. Japan gave them $14.6 million on the anniversary this year. They're the third biggest donor. And last year, August the 24th, 2023, Rafael Grossi went to, because they're announcing there was no leaks, there was only tritium, blah, blah, blah. And he picked up a $19 million check. How many people, do you know anybody out there you could bribe $19 million? They won't take a fucking bribe? Do you? I know somebody that won't take the fucking bribe. I'd rather die fucking broke with nothing on the fucking streets eating fucking maggots. At least I still have my dignity, right? I'll always have my dignity. The industry only exists because people have no dignity. China reports no abnormalities at Fukushima wastewater. So all these alleged journalists, nobody put their fucking name on the stories. China completes testing of the water samples collected near Fukushima this February, said a spokesperson. And why is cesium spelled with an A? China doesn't use an A. It's the British government. So this is most likely British, the International Atomic Energy Agency public relations scam. And China, because they're promoting nuclear, had to go along with it. There was a trade-off somewhere. And so typically it's a couple of dozen corrupt people will fuck over the entire future of humanity and the 8 million species. Because that's why they got the education, so they can get that fucking job and do exactly that. The cowards of cowards. The cowards' heroes are the first ones to run. China. Cesium. So why is cesium in the context of that, I wonder? Because that was a Chinese story on top of that. Radiation levels on the United States West Coast spiked to over 1 million times normal after Fukushima, the French government. But none got into the ocean, Dana, so shut the fuck up. Cesium levels increased 1 million to 10 million times after Fukushima. Of what pre-Fukushima's radioactive cesium-137 they're talking about, which pulses energy 600 feet every second. It's a terrible isotope, right? This model you're looking at is that particular isotope at 1 million to 10 million times pre-Fukushima background levels. So you could have about 30 million atoms per cubic meter air of cesium-137. This is the French government. What the fuck are you going to believe? You're going to believe the communist Chinese or a girl with a fucking banana and a potato chip? I don't know. It's a hard call. No abnormalities found in China. The Jap News inspection of radiation. How do the people that, like, you know, my detractors, Calm Down Charlie and the rest of them, how do you get people that disconnected, I wonder? How do you become that fucking stupid? And that's their job. Their job is to fuck me over. You can see it tonight very clearly. Censored 11 views and 10 likes. 10 votes. You really got to be something stupid, man, to hate that job. Pays good, I know, but imagine how fucked up in the head you got to be to get that job. Right, the coward way of being a serial killer is what they're doing, right? And all they can do is call up the show and then call me names. They can't actually use documentation. They can't use numbers. They can't use no evidence whatsoever. Just call up and just call me names. Call me scammer. How desperate are you, though? I got one guy who's been doing it to, what is you, Shita Mashada? Tokyo Rose's little bastard child. Over 10 years stalking me straight. That's his job, right? Nothing found in the marine products, eh? Well, you dirty fucking chink. I actually done research expeditions from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska for 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year. And I came at this every direction you can imagine. You have no idea. I spent 4 to 5 months a year just meandering along the coastline. And this was a typical day, not the other picture. I don't miss them days. I miss the species, though. Year after fucking year after year after year after year after year after year. Year after year after year. And I can't find a fucking... There should be over 7,000 species. Oh, you see that up there? That's a bird in the water. That's why I took that particular picture, because that's a very unusual sight now. Oh, on the good side, once all the species disappear because of Fukushima and nuclear industry, at least we can still eat nuclear scientists, because there's a lot of them out there we can boil up. A bunch of potatoes and carrots and that. And species to your left are missing. What would you rather have anyway, birds and bees or fucking nuclear? Disgusting, despicable, idiot nuclear Moron nuclear. Schifferbrains nuclear. Clearly I got a few things on my chest here tonight. The nuclear industry. I'm not always like this. I'm usually pretty calm. Pretty relaxed. Pretty chill. I was really sick for the last couple of weeks, so I'm finally coming around, thank goodness. But now I'm like kind of, I'm very nervous now. I'm afraid, right, that I'm going to get sick again. I just want to be healthy for a little bit. Even a couple of weeks would be pretty cool. Just get rid of so much stress when you're sick at my age, right? I got 7 stents put in around my heart. 7, which is a record for the province. They actually flew in a special team just to do the surgery. They were fucking professionals, man. There was no conversations whatsoever. It was all business. They were fucking dead serious. Super nice before it and super nice after too. On top of it, and they were very happy with the work too. Apparently, I remember when I came out of the surgery, I was fucking breathing, feeling great. I was awake the whole time. They shove a thing all the way up your arm and over to your heart. Well, on your left side. And then they install the stents, which are just like little pipes, special like carbon fiber pipes, meant to keep your veins open or your heart valves open. So 7 was I came out and when you take you to do the surgery, you have to travel quite a ways by ambulance to do the surgery, and then they bring you back. And so they give you a dedicated nurse from your area will go with you. And then come back with you, right? And when I come out of the surgery, they were wheeling me out anyway back to the little spot where they had me set up originally, the little triage area. And she asked the nurse how was I doing? She said, I think he's probably doing really good. He's got 7 stints in. You can she literally pulled her head back. She just literally big, huge smile on her face. It was like, what? Before I went in, I had all the doctors and nurses came by and had a little peek at me, quick chat with me, and there was another nurse. Once you get there, they dedicate another nurse, which not digressing, but okay, I'm digressing. And anyway, she stood up there. Clearly, her job now was to monitor me until I went into surgery. And the doctor came in. She said, "He's going to be doing the surgery on you." And he asked me, "Was I CIA or FBI or something?" I said, "No, of course not. What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, you couldn't tell us anyway, could you?" And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then they gave me 7 stints, and a half an hour after I got out of surgery, I got up and walked down, something I never dreamt I'd ever do again. Walked down to the bathroom, took a pee, walked all the way back. I literally was skipping. I didn't skip, of course, because I still had that valve on my arm. You got to wait till that settles down before you can remove it, because they slice open your vein, right, and plug into your vein. And I done one of these shows here you're looking at right now. The very next night, I was out of the hospital the next morning, and then that night I done a show. I haven't stopped since. So the title's on. Look at the beautiful species to your left. Isn't that cool? You'll never see that again. You'll never take that fucking picture again, thanks to Fukushima, the fucking idiots, and the International Atomic Energy Agency. The worst fucking scum this planet has ever created. Those vile, degenerate monsters of humanity. That's where they work, at Fukushima, or at the International Atomic Energy Agency. Major censorship on me tonight. Holy fuck. Cowards. That's what cowards do, right? They're all, wherever they're to right now, they're all huddled together in the corner crying because they call them names. He's calling us names. Come on, George, come over and give us a group hug. Expect 7,000 species, and now you got nothing. This is why you have mass starvation events now. All the whales are emaciated, all the birds are emaciated. Species to your left are fucking gone permanently. That's why we went back for 6 years. 5 more years after the first year to see if the species recovered. And it was such a shock to the system, because I was an ex-commercial diver, right? It was such a shock to the system to go back into these places. Tropical rainforest on top of that, right? 27,000 islands. And to see it stripped like that. And so the first year I really thought I was going to find an oasis like this. And I think it was gone for 6 months or 7 months the first year. And I thought I was going to find an oasis like that. Because surely not all of it can disappear. Beaches that are made out of shellfish that have broken down over millions of years. It was incredible. And when you went to the beaches, there wasn't even fucking shells on the beaches. That are made of shells. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So you see this connotation here. Fukushima radioactive fallout is global warming. Now, that's on the piggyback of the legacy of the nuclear industry, the dumping, the perpetual dumping, particularly what the British done, my goodness, right? So this is 19.5 days of radioactive fallout on that model. Remember, I showed you the French model earlier. But like that's the typical day. This is Neptunium-239 dispersal based on 20 days. These numbers are based on TEPCO's flawed numbers, which are just not even 1% of the real actual loss of inventories. And the Neptunium-239 decays to plutonium-239 after 2.5 fucking days. And plutonium, all the species, all the animals in the laboratories died of typically 3 different cancers, most of them from skeleton tumors, and lung tumors and liver tumors. Typically, it wasn't untypical to have 3 different types of tumors from the plutonium. So the plutonium will give you one of the 3 that are going to be lethal before the other 2, right? This, by the way, was the plutonium-239 dispersal. That one's based on 20 days, and that data is based on TEPCO. That shouldn't exist. That was bankrupt immediately, and it was nationalized by the government. In other words, taken over by the government because they were on the stock market. That's why nuclear has no right to be on the stock market. Like, they have no rights anyway, but they're there. Sure, the small modular reactor companies are on the stock market, don't have a product, and they're not interested in getting one either. They're just interested in robbing the investors. If that's not out of fucking control, what actually is, I wonder? I'm sorry, I never turned the volume down. All these 80 years of academics telling you it's like a banana and a potato chip and granite in the rocks and flying on a fucking airplane and climbing a mountain or sleeping next to somebody, when it's the most lethal stuff. It's 2 billion times, atom is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. When it's in your body, you're getting trillions of more damage than outside your body, and outside your body is brutal damage. But in your body, because it's pulsing energy at the speed of light every second, it's destroying chromosomes and cells and DNA. And your body tries to repair all that damage every second. It can't do it. And attacks the source and tries to build a tumor around it. It doesn't know how to deal with it because it's a foreign object. It's not part of the space dust that we're already acclimated to through genetic superior selection. Every species is, with normal elements on the planet. This is the French model based on 23 days of radioactive fallout. According to the Chinks, the Chinese, the fucking gooks, there was nothing in the ocean. And so they can go fuck themselves. The worthless fucking scum. You worthless fucking scum. To suggest that a nuclear meltdown has no adverse side effects. You disgusting fucking parasites from the International Atomic Energy Agency. You worthless fucking scum. I apologize, I swear sometimes. That's the stump of reactor 3, the ghost of reactor 3. Reactor 4. So the fuel pools are at the top of the building, same as the reactor cores. When there's no top to the building, what does that mean, I wonder? There was 8 reactor cores at the top of each of the fucking buildings. And here's your disgusting parasitic media. In 2013, I created this video in 2013. And their job is to tell you that they're at the top of a building that don't exist and that nothing got out. And everything is being taken care of.
Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
If you think they're inside the reactor, give us a call at 709-589-4406. 709-589-4406. If you believe that these journalists, serial killers, are at the top of Reactor 4. And by the way, that's Rupert Winfield Hayes, the same guy in the video I played earlier, saying that all the tanks were full. They can't keep up with anything. And that was the same year, on top of that. They picked up 30 million one-ton bags, but nothing got into the ocean. And 30 million one-ton bags, that's how a one-ton bag is, you can only put one bag in the back of the biggest pickup trucks. You got the one-ton pickup trucks. And so they're 20 feet long, bumper to bumper. That's 5 rows of traffic around the planet. But nothing got into the fucking ocean. How do you reconcile that those people are allowed to exist, that they call themselves journalists, that they have the arrogance and the hubris to call themselves journalists? The buildings don't even exist, and they're on top of it getting the fuel out of the pool. I mean, 55 countries banned the food in 14 prefectures for over a fucking decade. That's half the country. Why would you lift restrictions? Because they put the pro-nuclear. A couple of years ago, 5 years ago, there was another major event. Now, we were reporting all the way up to this point how the insects had disappeared. And there was 192 species. It was millions of little birds, insect-eating birds, on the migratory routes. Were showing up all over the fucking place. They have no fat reserve, barely any muscle mass, and almost as if they had been flying until they couldn't fly anymore. It was extremely emaciated. That's a very important story because it was summertime. And so if you couldn't find insects in their migratory route, and they can cover huge distances, then the radioactive fallout, because every species in the woods, in the meadows, in your community, everything was getting full body, it will be forever, getting full body x-rays from anthropogenic man-made radiation. And for the little insects that the birds are dependent upon, and there were studies done on these nesting birds, and it was 30-something nests, And they had two or three fledglings in each nest. And then they fed the fledglings insects for 21 days, was it? 24 days or something? And just that 33, 34 nest consumed 5.2 million insects. And because they had cameras focused on it, and what they done was they had different universities, students were doing the count, going through the videos and counting the insects that were fed to the fledglings. And so there was 192 species showed up all over the place. And they were finding them alongside of buildings and everything else. And so the disgusting fucking media came out and tried to blame it on running into windows. But over the next couple of days, there was like fucking... It was either kamikaze... Birds were running into the windows. It was the radioactive fall that exterminated their food source. It broke the food chain, right? Experts agree many species of wildlife and fisheries are endangered globally due to the stupid fucking industry's large release of radioactive... Large release? It was 36 reactor cores. Professor links die-off on the U.S. West Coast to Fukushima's radiation. A river flowing under the plant with molten fuel on the bottom and is going directly into the fucking ocean. I apologize for swearing again, but I can't beat the shit out of a nuclear scientist, and that's the only way I can get the stress off my shoulders. Government declares disaster over diseased and dying fish on the U.S. West Coast. A sudden, unexpected, large decreases in population. That was a fucking extinction event. That was January 29, 2017. I was on the ocean reporting all of this stuff. Scientists mystified and stumped. Environmental disaster, devastating, alarming, dire. Now, all of these particular stories would be based upon 8, 9, 10, 12 media's, the mainstream media's reports. And then the consensus was put into these headlines, so to speak, right? Massive die-off of sea creatures from California to Alaska. And I showed you my research expeditions from Vancouver to Alaska for 6 years, 4 to 5 fucking months a year. When the fuck does that count, I wonder? How come there's no academics calling me up and asking me questions? They don't know I exist? There is not a nuclear scientist on the entire fucking planet who doesn't curse me every morning when they wake up. And are terrified their children will fucking find my videos and watch them. Because then they'll hate their fucking parent. And that's what they should do. That's the appropriate thing should fucking happen to them. Animals are starving as the food chain continues to collapse. Mass starvation event plagued the West Coast. They quoted everybody but me. Every fucking lawyer out there has been quoted all over the place. The lie is around the planet 75 times before the truth gets their fucking shoes on in the morning. U.S. states hit with extremely large peaks of Fukushima radioactive material. Significant amount of plutonium released for months. Radioactivity from the plant was measured globally and blanketed the entire northern fucking hemisphere. We got 11 viewers and 11 likes. How's that fucking possible? Not like I'm swearing or something all night. So nothing got into the ocean. That's the main thing, right? Thank God. We dodged the fucking bad one that time. Thank God China got her fucking back. You piece of shit. You fucking worms. Fukushima radiation levels are circling the globe. The levels consistently rise and fall in a 40-day cycle. But nothing got in the fucking ocean, data. Particularly our Fukushima site. The reason they don't want to put the scientist's name on the story because they'll know I'll find him and beat the shit out of him. You got fucking 8-degree black belt kung fu. Give me your fucking head, you little prick. Indication of radioactive fallout in Saudi Arabia following Fukushima. Wait, what? Radiation in Saudi Arabia, nothing in the Pacific Ocean, really. Observations of Fukushima fallout in Great Britain. What? All these studies are lying. The fucking Chinese, the chinks in China said nothing got out. Detection of xenon-133 from Fukushima nuclear disease factory in the upper troposphere over Germany. Is everywhere but in the Pacific, right? Is China checked out? We can count on China. China's not a bunch of fucking scumbags. Modeling of marine radionuclides dispersion in the International Degenerate Agency's lessons learned from the Baltic Sea. These are fucking revolting parasites. Radioactive contamination monitoring for South Korea public. Dry disposition philosophy of cesium in Spain. You find it fucking everywhere, but except China can't find it. They're too fucking stupid. Airborne fission products in the high Arctic after Fukushima. It's not the one I wanted, I don't think. But they found it everywhere. They found it in Russia. They found it in Kamchatka, Alaska. They found it up in Russia. South Korea. It's fucking everywhere. Athens, Greece, and northwest Germany, and Slovenia, and Romania. It's Beijing. Oh, it's in Beijing, really. Don't tell China. These people are fucking nuts, eh? Australia. The studies don't mean nothing. It only matters if the media the Canary Islands. There was nothing found anywhere, Dana. Iberia, Northern Hemisphere, Lithuania, Monaco, Spanish, Northern Greece, Italy, fucking idiots. Not all of them, of course. Shitland, British Columbia. Decontamination of radioactivity from contaminated vegetables because of Fukushima. Look at all the people, all the academics. It's the craziest thing I've ever saw. That's the most lunatic thing I've ever saw. How to decontaminate your vegetables after 36 reactors fucking melt down. There's 8 reactor cores in each of the fuel pools, or reactor buildings. There's 4 reactor buildings. Every nuclear academic should be drowned in a fucking fuel pool. Just waterboard them with the fucking water from the fuel pools. Did you lie about Fukushima? Tell the truth! We're going to waterboard you a couple of 100 times, you little fucker. Like they done with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He also confessed to killing Elvis. Dispersion of fate of 90 strontium and whatever they want him to confess to, he confessed. They waterboarded him 195 times. Like what it means is they drown you, right? They strap you on a table upside down, not like on a 45 degree with your feet up in the air. They put a wet towel over your head, and then they pour water in your nose and mouth, so there's no way you can breathe, right? And then enough water gets in there, you'll drown, and then they'll stop. You'll puke that up, and then they'll repeat that 195 times. A lot of them went into cardiac arrest and had to be revived, and then they fucking drowned them 5 minutes later again, over and over and over. Imagine being a doctor that works that job. You fucking sick prick. I think if it was puppies they were drowning, Calm Down Charlie would be right fucking there. Dispersion and fate of strontium-90 in the Northwest Pacific adjacent seas. Global fallout, Fukushima Daiichi, but nothing got off the coastline then. Yeah, some got it, went all over the world, but it's not off the coastline of Fukushima, because the fucking chinks went out there and checked it out. We didn't find anything, for fuck's sake. In Vietnam, it's everywhere. Radio Xenon was remotely detected remotely, was it? Slovakia. South Korea, it's in France, it's here, it's every fucking where on the planet. There's nowhere on the planet you didn't find it. But nothing off the coastline. Look at this fucking nut job. Reducing radiation exposure is used in commonly available objects. This was a study. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people done this study. And what they said was that if you're in a nuclear wasteland, if you use 16 sheets of newspaper, you can reduce the dose rate this much. If you use it corrugated cardboard, you reduce it that much. 4 millimeter thicknesses. 2 layers, 8 millimeters, so it's safer to sit on that than it is on your chair, see? 25 millimeter thick magazine. Foam boards. Instead of telling people to get the fuck out of there, it's a nuclear wasteland, they were saying, well, you can use newspapers and cardboard or 2 layers of cardboard or a magazine or foam. The author declared they have no conflict of interest. If you've got no conflict of interest, instead of calculating out stuff like that, you would say, get the fuck out of Dodge, it's a nuclear wasteland, wouldn't you? Uh, 0.65 microsieverts, and the count rate decreased from 31,000 to 352 counts per minute. So 352, add another 200 to that. It's 552. So if they're saying 552, because they're only talking about gamma, they're not including alphas, neutrons, and betas, but just in gamma, that's what a microsiever would typically be. 700 physical, close to 700. Well, we lowball it, we say 700 physical atoms, right? That's where that number comes from, by the way. I say 750 because you got 550 of just gamma for a microsiever. Then you got to assume you got just much or more of alphas, and the same thing for betas, the same thing for neutrons. And all of these emitters are pulsing energy. Each of them are pulsing energy at the speed of light. And each one, when it hits a gamma, hits a neutron, hits an alpha, hits a beta, they don't mingle, right? They don't do that. They slam into each other almost at the speed of light and change directions. And the effects from that is known as an X-ray. And so, first off, they're in a nuclear wasteland, and suggesting that they only got 3,120, which, you're getting close to 1,000 per microsiever with those numbers. But they're only acknowledging gamma. You can't just fucking have gamma. So to protect the residents from unnecessary radiation exposure, so they're talking about like neutron, beta, alpha rays, gamma shine. They're not, when you're talking about 3,000 atoms in this little tiny section of your study, this couple of square feet, you're talking about fucking breathing it in, drinking it, eating it, constantly breathing it in. And they didn't include that in the fucking study. They conflated that with just energy pulsing from the outside. So they basically grinded the people up and fed them to the nuclear industries by leaving them there. Airborne radioiodine in northern Serbia. First off, typically when you hear iodine and cesium, that's the cover for curium isotopes and plutonium isotopes. right? Because the curium isotopes is the biggest byproduct of the radiated fuel rod, but you're not going to read it on your Geiger counter, which is only reading gamma. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you another 500 fucking times this year. Most catastrophic fishery collapse in history. Expected. This is a nightmare. In this 2017 March, I was on the ocean doing research expeditions for that. I was demonized and vilified and smeared and attacked on the internet, and I couldn't defend myself. But we needed the documentation. We needed to know. We had to know, was this real? And what the idea was to keep going out and do the research each year for 6 years, because you're gone away from home for 4 to 5 months. You still got to pay all the bills back home, and then you got to keep funding this operation on the ocean. It was incredibly difficult things to keep up with, right? Just to fund the whole operation for 4 to 5 months at a time was mad. That was fucking madness. We pulled it off, though, didn't we? We got the documentation. And then I haven't stopped using it as a weapon since then, right? This is a nightmare. I've never in my life dreamed that it could be this bad. The threat of a coast-wide fishing failure. Coast-wide fishing failure. I just have a couple of fucking bananas and shut up, man. Stop giving the nuclear industry such a hard time. They had 150,000 sites like this at 1 ton bags, 30 million altogether. Well, like, they grinded up billion pounds, grinded up radioactive fallout, contaminated 1 billion pounds of tsunami debris, slaughtered, covered. I mean, they couldn't even go get bodies from these communities because there was so much radiation for months. So the 30 million 1 ton bags was just 3% where the farmland, where they wanted to grow food again, which is the craziest fucking thing imaginable, and the communities where they wanted to get people to come back to. That's the 3% that created 30 million 1 ton bags in that Fukushima prefecture. But the food was banned in 14 prefectures by 55 countries. The other 97% of the Fukushima prefecture is still highly radioactive. Now, and the interesting thing about this story is that there's so much radiation, and I can like I showed you what's worldwide, but those numbers don't do it justice, right? Those numbers don't do it justice, and that you're radiating the whole country. Just try to visualize this. Work with me for a second. So Japan, hang on, we're getting there. It'd be nice if I had a map there at my fingertips. I do somewhere, but who the fuck knows where I put that to? I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, so the whole country, just 3%, they picked up 30 million 1 ton bags. And I've done tons and tons of presentations and videos of showing you documentation of the whole country. Absurd numbers. Absurd fucking numbers. Like 28 million atoms per square meter on the surface is just, that's normal across the country. And what's unique about this nuclear accidents is you're not just atomizing aerosol and ionize and radiate everything, the inventories, but you're steel and rocks and every water's being atomized in aerosol, ionized and radiated, and is released in massive fucking plumes that are lethal to everything replicating cells. Just like insects, birds, the biota, everything else. But what's another interesting fact about it is the particulates that are created. So you have radioactive neutron particulates all over the country. And what that means is they're splitting atoms, a lot of this stuff. And not only that, it's in the forest and the ecosystem, it's just saturated. That's why there was 865,000 extra cancers in the first year, for goodness sakes. I mean, cancer is not the only illness or disease or autoimmune deficiency or injury or illness that's going to manifest from the contamination. But holy shit, not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. You had 865,000 extra fucking cancers in just the first year. My goodness. And then he screams like, get the fuck out of stupid land and that too. But what happens is all the litter and foliage and everything across the entire country is ionized and radiated because of the type of fallout we're talking about. And so this creates a huge fucking problem because when that's displaced by typhoons and cyclones, whatever, well, typhoons for Japan, I guess, actually, this stuff gets washed down to the ocean. So when you have these big rain events that are symmetrical across the entire fucking idiot nuclear wasteland, all this radioactive debris gets washed into the fucking ocean. This is a fucking nightmare. And like in the, when I was a commercial diver working on the coastlines after heavy rainfall, you would lose your visibility because just there's all this natural sediment and everything gets washed out into the ocean, right? But this is a fucking cycle that just keeps going forever, for millions of fucking years. So the country is irradiated, but you have all this gammas and neutrons and betas and alpha radioactive fallout everywhere, pulsing energy at the speed of light every fucking second into each other, and then almost at the speed of light hitting each other and changing directions all over the fucking place. Full body x-rays for every species and everything. Every flower, every leaf on every fucking tree. The cherry blossoms are insane. The radioactive pollen every summer is fucking insane. Just the morning dew is insane amount released into the environment. And so this fucking, all the roots are radioactive. So all the honey, this is why the bees are all disappearing, because they're bringing this radioactive pollen back to their fucking hives. Or maybe the bees got bird flu. Who fucking knows? I know the rocks all up there on the coastline got bird flu. That's why there's no species clinging onto them, right? This is the stupidest fucking industry ever created. Because now you've got an entire country, naturally, every rain cycle is washing huge amounts right across the entire fucking country, which is a nuclear wasteland. They can't get rid of the sewage, because it's too fucking radioactive across the country. They can't get rid of the sediment from the water filtration fucking facilities, because that's too fucking radioactive. You can't get rid of the garbage, because that's too fucking radioactive. But you can't get rid of the ashes from the incinerator, because that's too radioactive. So all the aquifers are radioactive on top of that. All the pipes going into the homes are radioactive. All the dust on their furniture is radioactive dust mixed in with it, right? You won't be able to live in Japan at some point. At some point, the reality is going to set in. And they're deadly scared originally, right? They were going to cause a panic, so nothing got out. Well, yeah, we picked up 30 million one-ton bags, but nothing got out. Every time we cover stories about the nuclear industry, they're the most vile, coward fucking things you'll ever come across. And they're incredibly funded, incredibly organized, and incredibly cowardly. They're the cowards of the cowards. You don't have a fucking herald in the entire industry. How is that possible? Well, because it's fucking cowards. I guess no views for Dana tonight. I got 10 people on my show or something. Here's your chance to help YouTube. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck off my site, you pricks. Here's your chance to help make YouTube better for creators. Get started with this. Yeah, let's get started. I'm English, you fucking dweeps. What do we got going on here? Thank you for participating in this 10 to 15 minute survey. I'm not going to do a 10 to 15 minute survey. You click, oh, okay, I agree. There you go. Let's do a few moments, though, out of a bit of curiosity. Overall, how satisfied are you with YouTube as a place for video creators? Well, let's have a look here. I've been doing this show for over a decade straight, and I got 12 people on my show. If I was wrapping fucking shit on a stick and calling it fertilizer, there'd be 30,000 people here yucking it up. I'm very fucking dissatisfied. Because you're scumbags. I'm dissatisfied. Fuck off. The ability to reach an audience is disgusting. It's disgusting. They're insane policies. Education on YouTube. So your child can be the stupidest person on the planet. What for? Make money. You make no money. Talking about nuclear. YouTube's tools to manage your content is fucking garbage. The ability to reach your audience. How important is the following aspect? It's extremely important, you shit for fucking brains. I'm censored. Like, the tools to manage my content. Let's go fucking look at that for a second. So let's go back to the last show, not this show. And this show, right now, I've been going for over an hour. I got 20 views total. Look. Just watching to show you something, though. What I do is different. Like, my videos, the censorship of my videos are crazy. So if you go in here, into these sections, who's fucking with me now? I wonder. I shouldn't say that before I answer the phone. Hello? Hello? That's Calm Down Charlie screaming at me. Calm down, Charlie. What are you calling me fucking names for? He just panics, eh? He calls in total fucking panic. Hang on, I'm going to show you something. Get rid of that cocksucker. Let me show you something. Some of the censorship they do to me, they don't do to anybody else. Da-da-da-da. Hang on, I'll get there. Down here, we're going to get to it. Bear with me. Publish to subscribers feed and notify subscribers. That is, you can never use that feature on my site. You can use it on everybody else's site, but you can't use it on my site. My videos, the numbers will change after 12 hours. Like the length of the video will change after 12 hours. And that's when you can read the comment sections after 12 hours. And it'll have a different number at 12 hours. I'm completely censored. Because that's what cowards do, right? They can only do one thing. They censor you. Because it's easy to censor somebody when you're a fucking meathead. Radioactive material now flowing towards Tokyo and contaminating their water supply. The water supply in Tokyo is contaminated right away. We know that because they couldn't get rid of this. They had 50,000 one-ton bags of sediment from the water filtration facilities they couldn't fucking get rid of. I mean, everything's contaminated. And that was just in the first little while. They wanted TEPCO to take it. But everything else was contaminated, right? The sewage, so contaminated they can't get rid of it. That's even after... And they dehydrated, what they call dehydrating it. Which means you're releasing a stupid amount back into the environment, and the stuff left over is so radioactive it can't be used for anything, and you can't get rid of it. It's nuclear waste, right? Unstoppable contamination of the Pacific Ocean is seriously menacing the U.S. West Coast. But nothing got out, Dana. Here's the Japanese officials and the fucking chinks are out there telling you nothing got into the fucking ocean. It's seriously menacing the U.S. West Coast. 2015, I was out on the ocean doing research expeditions during that one. Fukushima now undeniably a global security issue and can't be brought under control by a single state or country. A wave of radiation will be 10 times more than the entire world's nuclear tests combined. 10 billion times more. A nuclear meltdown is different than a bomb. Bomb's a couple of kilograms. We're talking about 36 reactor cores, for fuck's sakes. We're talking about, anyway, minimum 6 million pounds per building, 4 reactor buildings. And not counting the common spent fuel pool, which was redacted. And I produced a video a few weeks ago, 736 magic pictures. You really want to go look at that one. That's a fucking wake-up call. Everything is redacted. It was from a drone, right? But you were able to, because we had the luxury of hindsight, and we have a lot of other pictures, we were able to reconstruct. Hey, have a banana, everything will be better. While you're eating potato chips, flying on a fucking airplane with your granite countertops and idiot Chinese fucking flag. Stupidest fucking thing imaginable. I know patriotism. It's a globalist suck job. U.S. biologists probed the death of 70 emaciated gray whales. Now that story happens to be from 2019. But yesterday it came out there's 70 other emaciated grey fucking whales off the east coast of the United States. Severely emaciated. 40% drop in grey whales since 2016, post-Fukushima, because they broke the food chain, and that's what the whales in particular liked the most. So it was 10,350 grey whales that they acknowledged died. Now we covered a large chunk of that over the years, right? One primary suspect is the food chain is broken. They don't say that. They're food scarcity / emaciated. Like fucking emaciated grey whales. Probe the deaths of 70. How could they get emaciated? We don't know, George. It could be the fucking flu. Coming over the house for a barbecue on the weekend. We just got a new pool. Oh, climate change, Dana, which is radioactive fallout for 80 years. Pulsing energy at the speed of light. Carbon doesn't pulse energy at the speed of light every second for millions of fucking years. Carbon has been around forever. Carbon is more trees, more fucking animals, more insects, more puppies. Did a marine heat wave cause 7,000 humpback whales to starve to death, to commit suicide and run up on a fucking beach, refuse to eat their food, went on a hunger fucking strike till he died? Nothing to do with radiation, Dana. They went on a hunger strike. So this 7,000 whales that they're talking about is 7,000 whales on top of the unusual mortality event that was going on for several years at this point, which happens to be applicable to every fucking species of whales out there, by the way. So you're talking about 10,000 humpback whales. You're talking about 10,350, add another 70 yesterday, and all the other whales in between 2022 and then. We got another die-off show ready to go. I was going to do it tonight. I'm just not all the way recovered. I'm so, I'm really close, but it takes a lot of fucking energy to do these shows. Like it drains your brain. On top of that, it's such a terrible story. you get to see the final product. You don't see the nightmare I got to go through to put this together, all the stories I can't cover. So how scientists discovered 7,000 humpback whales. So these dead humpback whales are on top of the unusual mortality events. So you're talking at least 10,000. There was 10,000, at least 1,000 beak whales, covert beak whales that showed up emaciated in different stages of decomposition along the coastline of the United Kingdom in a single fucking few months, which is typically recognized as 10%. That's what you expect to find of whales that die, which is absurd that you would find that much, really. But that's the consensus. So that's 10,000 covert beak whales. It's not just North Atlantic right whales. It's not just minke whales. It's not just grey and humpback. It's not just covert or beak whales. It's every fucking species out there of whales. And the stories of the polar whales, 2014, 15, and 16, they were showing up everywhere in big bunches. Oh, that's normal. They do that for all. There's a big history of that. No. There's a history of it, but not like that. And on top of that, then in 2014, 15, 16, and 17, the story would say, because they would do autopsies, necropsies on the animals, and they would always say they were emaciated and there was nothing in their fucking stomach. But after 2017, they stopped reporting on the health of the whales, and we covered that in 2017, 18, and 19 in particular, where we started saying, look at this, they're not covering in the polar whales in particular, right? But it's not just polar whales that are showing up. I mean, there was 9 fucking whales, grey whales, on one beach a couple of days ago. Not one beach, but that one stretch of coastline in a single fucking day that was emaciated. No, Dana, they all got hit by the same boat. They all ran at the boat. We don't know why, but they're committing suicides against big boats. They just can't stand them, maybe. This was the guy, Robert Gale. He's in charge of transplant operation at the same university as Geraldine Thomas in the United Kingdom. He said he went to Fukushima and he was telling the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society and the immigrants who don't speak the fucking language, the heroes that were working at Fukushima, that working at nuclear meltdown was equal to 14 cigarettes a day. It was equal to eating 25 cups of peanut butter over their whole time there. It was equal to spending 20 days in New York City. So 21 days in New York City was more fucking dangerous than being at a nuclear meltdown site where 36 reactor cores had melted down in 4 buildings. Now he's in charge of doing transplants on humans. He bombards them with neutron beams and kills every cell in their body and tries to stick a pig fucking heart in them or something like that. He's never succeeded in his entire career, but how many people died at his hands, I wonder, of a horrible fucking radiation poisoning on top of that? Driving 600 kilometers in a car is worse than being at the nuclear disease factory, is it? Flying 40,000 kilometers in a plane is worse than being at a nuclear fucking meltdown. You worthless, fucking disgusting parasite. And even the craziest one, kayaking 15 minutes in a kayak, was worse than being at a nuclear fucking meltdown. Or receiving 1 millisievert, 1,000 microsieverts of radiation was worse than being at a nuclear meltdown. Because the people he's telling it to are homeless and the destitute and the victims of society and the immigrants who don't speak the language. Let me bring up a little clip of this fucking nightmare. This disgusting parasite. I'm not going to play very much of it. I just want you to see him. I want you to hear this fucking little weasel. Serial killer. He's a serial killer big time. Robert Gale. He treats cancer with bananas and potato chips, apparently. He goes to university, incredible degrees. Imperial College, he's teaching. He's slaughtering people. Him and Geraldine Thomas. She's a professor, too. And these are fucking criminals.
And then the final slide will just show you where on that thermometer does something like Fukushima lie? Now, you'll hear a lot of detailed scientific discussions of our uncertainties, that we shouldn't really be talking about point estimates. We should be talking about ranges. But I think what people want to know, what the public want to know, what I have to deal with, and when I'm in Tokyo, and people ask me, or the workers ask me, what is my risk from getting 50 millisieverts? They want to know really where. I'm sorry, if you can go back. Where am I on that thermometer? They don't care if it's 2 in 10,000 or 4 in 10,000, which is a huge scientific difference. But just where am I on that calendar, on that thermometer? And I think these kinds of expressions, give a better sense to the public, and that's certainly an area where we can improve. And I guess the final slide, I'm sorry, it wasn't the final slide, is just looking at comparable risks of death is another way of trying to express these things to the public. So getting 1 millisievert of radiation, which is just on the bottom, is equivalent to just smoking just 14 cigarettes, period. Not 14 cigarettes a day, but smoking 14 cigarettes. And you can see some other amusing things like eating 25 cups of peanut butter. Peanut butter has a risk of containing aflatoxin, which is can cause your death or can cause liver cancer. Driving 600 kilometers. So that really helps people quite a bit in understanding where they should place the risk of Fukushima. So I'll stop there and return it to you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Robert Gale. I'm a visiting professor of hematology at the Imperial College in London. And I'm an MD PhD, and I treat people with cancer, and so my background in entering this is really fundamentally in giving. I'm involved very much in transplants, bone marrow transplants, because you may know that we use extraordinarily high doses of radiation to prepare people for transplants, and that very much simulates the situation that could occur or did occur in Chernobyl and other radiation accidents. So my colleagues and I are the people who actually have hands-on experience treating high-dose radiation victims. And lifetime cancer risk, for example, I said that for a Japanese or American male at the age of 50, it's about 1 in 2, 50% is your lifetime cancer risk, which is somewhat discouraging. I think several people have said to me in hearing that if I have to get cancer, I hope I get a good one. I hope I get prostate cancer and not lung cancer. But you can make that worse by being a smoker, as you can see from that thermometer. But there are some other things. What do we consider negligible? Where does a CT, probably fit in?
That's a real life monster right there. He treats people for cancer, and then he goes to the Fukushima nuclear meltdown workers and tells them it's like fucking 15 minutes in a kayak, so get the fucking work. Can you imagine how sadistic he actually is in real life? It breaks me fucking heart, eh? Because I can picture all the victims. It's the sad thing, because I cover this stuff so much for so long. It really impacts me, right? So 865,000 people got cancer in the first year, 2012. They stopped releasing these numbers after that first year. That was extra cancers. I'm sorry. Not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. It's just, every time I see Robert Gale, he's the epitome of the people in the nuclear industry. He's the epitome of the people that are censoring me tonight, for instance, right? He's the epitome of everybody that works at the International Atomic Energy Agency. That's who gets the job, is that person like that. And there's fucking thousands of these disgusting parasites out there. These are fucking parasites. Uh, 13,646 children out of 38,000 children with thyroid tumors of 2 centimeters. But the thyroid gland is only 2 centimeters. The adults is 3 by 5, right? And so what that means, of course, is these are absurd numbers. It used to be 1 in a million. after Fukushima, in the first year, this is the first year now, mind you, 13,000, they're not part of that statistic of 865,000 extra people, extra cancers, by the way. No, they blew this off. They said, oh, it'll be okay. When you got a tumor on a gland, a tumor that's 2 centimeters, on a gland that's 2 centimeters, and on a gland that provides the hormones for your entire body, and these children are developing, right? So their hormones are just on a constant work. They're their workhorse, right? Then you have to appreciate the fact that they also got radioactive stem cells that are off the charts. And so they're going to have the most horrific health conditions their whole life. And it's going to be a miserable way forward because radiation is not the way you want to go out. Government experts, astounding levels of radiation measured in the entire United States, Canada from Fukushima. At 500,000 times the normal levels are pre-Fukushima numbers left over from the weapons testing. Now, weapons testing only acknowledges gammas. They refuse to acknowledge any other isotope. They will barely recognize that number, the gammas. We've never seen anything even close to that. And the concentrations went up and up every fucking day. What was it, Martin Frackler? I remember when this was 2012 or 2011. At the end of 2011, I think it was, and I was infuriated. I must have came out and yelled at him for about 5 fucking days straight for what he says right here.
My name is Martin Fackler. I am the Tokyo Bureau Chief. And the title, as we just heard, was Challenges and Opportunities After the Fukushima Nuclear Disaster, this crisis management. And the question of what do you tell your public? Do you tell them that there's a serious nuclear accident, or do you play it down? Do you try to cover it up?
This is a journalist taking away your ability to protect yourself, the ability to protect your children, your friends, your families, disarming you from the knowledge. A fucking journalist. The worst fucking creature in human history. Here's another one of those.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant.
Claiming she's at a building, on top of a building, at a nuclear fucking meltdown of all places. Right alongside of multiple nuclear meltdowns. On top of this building that doesn't even fucking exist. Do you think anybody's ever going to fucking go stand up right there and get a selfie? It's only the homeless and destitute victims of society and the immigrants, your loved ones that happen stupid enough to go to Japan, that'll end up in these places. Like, when Reactor 3 detonated, and Reactor 3 is the one to your left. This is a plutonium mixed oxide reactor. When that fucking detonated, all that assemblies, there's, 9 reactor cores, one of them was running, coming straight back down on your site. Like, right where my fingers to is the top of Reactor 4, which is right alongside of it. That blew up shortly after this. Like, the lies they told are so many and so fucking dangerous. Fukushima plume model showed 1 million atoms. This was the xenon-133. This is, when you see becquerels per square meter, they're talking about actual on the fucking ground numbers. You can't, and if you got 1 million of that, you're going to have 1 million of these, 1 million curium, 10 million curium. You're going to have 100 million strontium-90s. You're going to have 220 million atoms, 20 million atoms of iodine particles. And then the university professor denounced this number by saying it only pulsed energy 10 times a minute. You're talking about 20 million pulses of energy at the speed of light every second. He had at the end of another presentation done in Fukushima, he acknowledged as conflict of interest that he does get $6 million a year from the nuclear industry each year. He got no reason to lie to you, does he? Another study, by the way, for every iodine 131, there's 10 times more 132, 30 times more 133, 31 times more iodine, 129. That was another separate study. 220 million atoms. It's going to saturate the glands, the thyroid glands, the pituitary, the adrenaline glands of every fucking species for 15 million years before it decays to a single half-life. There's 10 half-lives. It's the first, like, they call it a Becquerel when it's a pulse of energy at the speed of light every second. They call it a half-life when there's 10 of them. It decays to another isotope on top of that. In a comparison with X-rays and CAT scans are meaningless. Inhaling the particles increases the radiation exposure by a factor of 1 trillion. It's in your body, it's pulsing energy, killing millions of chromosomes, DNA cells every second. Your body tries to repair that, can't. So any of them can turn into a cancer. And then it has to attack the source too with white blood cells. So there's an instant cause and effect to every species, every human. There's an instant cause and effect. Because it's in your body pulsing energy every second. That's what they mean by a factor of 1 trillion. It's fucking way worse than that. And you're not getting one in your body, you're getting fucking thousands. Science outweighs irrational reasoning. This is a professor in the Department of Nuclear Quantum Engineering in South Korea. This was 2023, August 2023, just as they came out with the new cover story. He said the 1.3 million tons of wastewater stored at Fukushima includes approximately 2.2 grams of tritium. So what he was essentially saying is that the only thing that could come out of a nuclear meltdown was tritium. And don't worry, because it's like throwing 3 grams of sugar into the fucking ocean. So he's calling a nuclear meltdown 3 grams of sugar. The equivalent of 3 grams of sugar. That's a professor of quantum and nuclear engineering. So when someone tells you that they're a professor of anything, you would normally want to have, hear them out, right? That's the stupidest fucking thing you can do when it comes to nuclear is listen to those pricks. Those fucking sadistic demons. They're not demons. They're not sadistic. They're just fucking cowards. They're fucking cowards. They're ruthless. They can't even call them ruthless. It's not like they're brave. They're not fucking gangster. There's no gangster nuclear fucking scientists. These are fucking cowards. Explosion of sea lion deaths in Peru. That's a really important story, right? A deadly bird flu outbreak, right? And you see he's on the beach, he's by the water. The next picture is a little hard to look at. It's an emaciated sea lion. They're trying to conflate, they're trying to marry the bird flu to an emaciated sea lion. And then, for the first 10 years, these emaciated sea lions were showing up everywhere. And the bird flu was never mentioned a single fucking time. And Fukushima was. But the cover story, is now the bird flu, apparently. One of the many, certainly. The domoic acid is still going stronger, but they've never ever been able to prove, right, the effects of it. It's always came back negative, in other words, in the studies. So, they're showing you a picture. There was 4,500 sea lions showed up, severe emaciation. 3,487, rather, I'm sorry. And then the next picture, they're on the beaches in their stupid paper suits, idiotic paper suits. And tell me that's not the most emaciated fucking animal you've ever seen. Now, bird flu apparently killed the animals in 3 or 4 days. That's their official version. That emaciation, you're talking about a fucking 1,200, 1,400 pound animal. It weighs less than 100 fucking pounds. I was a commercial diver for 14,000 hours. I've never fucking seen anything like that in my life. And I've dove right in front of fucking hundreds and hundreds of sea lions all day. Until the male shows up and drives the editor. I've dumped my weight bill probably 300 times because I couldn't control my fear. Because those fucking things were chasing after me. Dad was chasing after me. Wouldn't bother me. I'd probably shit my pants because I've never seen anything so fucked up. So they're trying to conflate that and that with bird flu. That's got nothing to do with fucking bird flu. It doesn't work that way. They're dying because all their fucking bones are sticking up because they're emaciated. That's what we should be doing with the nuclear scientists, is not fucking give them anything. Just let them fucking die of emaciation. Fuck them. They're fucking horrible scum. 10 billion snow crab vanished. Oh, really? Vanished, did it? This was 2023. So that was the end of the industry. It just magically disappeared. Nobody saw that coming except for us, of course. This loss encompassed more than 90% of the Bering Sea snow crab populations and nearly 4 times the combined total number of snow crabs harvested by the crab fishery from 1977 to 2022. Before the event, the population was healthy, with a huge incoming group of immature crabs. They concluded that starvation. I'm surprised they didn't try to blame it on the fucking bird flu. Starvation killed billions of crabs. Starvation. Like all the whales and birds and mammals and animals were seen. Starvation. Because at the top of the buildings were 36 reactor cores. Now, I know some of you don't like... I know I don't either, right? What's her face? In this story. But the story's about Frank von Hippel. And he's going to tell you at the top of reactor 4, and all these reactors are identical, there's typically around 8 reactor cores. And because this is probably one of the most important news clips you'll ever fucking see. I'm going to play it for you. It's only a short video. But this was on March the 16th.
And if, in terms of what we know about the capacity, about how many fuel rods would likely be inside that reactor, what sort of quantity are we talking about radioactivity?
I've heard different numbers ranging from 2 to 15 reactor cores worth. No, 2 to about 8 reactor cores worth.
So if it can't be controlled, that's worst case scenario, 8 reactors worth of radioactivity.
Right.
And it would be released into the atmosphere.
By the way, the fact that this has happened at unit number 4 is understandable and is consistent with the theory that it really did dry out, because the fuel from the unit number 4 was most recently discharged, and therefore was the hottest, and therefore the water would have boiled off more rapidly.
Yeah. Well, that's reactor 4. It's supposed to be 4 times higher than that. Because that's where the fuel pools are. They're not the fuel pool. They're serial killers. Now, that reactor 4 blew up after reactor 3 blew up. And so it was interesting because Frank von Hippel would have seen that. And he would have seen the fact that the fuel pool and reactor cores were falling back down to Earth right away, right? So children with 11 atoms a kilogram of cesium start to see heart problems. I showed you the study from the French government of 1 million to 10 million times pre-Fukushima levels per cubic meter of air. And cesium-137 pulses energy 600 feet every second. And so irreversible heart damage for children with 50 atoms a kilogram. Irreversible lesions to the adults and moose and cattle and stuff like this. And dogs and pets and animals. 50 atoms. Now you put 200 million atoms on the head of a needle, you can't see it. So how the fuck are you supposed to protect yourself from 50? Or 50,000? Japan never stopped growing food in the nuclear wasteland. You have every right to fucking hate Japan. Despite the fact that 55 countries banned the food from 14 prefers, half the fucking country, Japan would just ship it to close by countries, change the names, and and then repackage it and relabel it and ship it to the countries that were banning it. Canada removed all restrictions after 93 days because Canada's sadistic demons. We went from about 20% obesity rates to 90%. United States is now 74% of the population is obese. I was 155, 165 my entire life. And boom. Never changed my diet, nothing like that. I was always a decent eater. I was like nothing crazy. And so in Canada, 90% of the people are obese. What do you think? All of this is post-Fukushima stuff. Quite a coincidence. And the worst case scenario is a China syndrome. Well, we got a China syndrome this week of all the Chinese sacks of shit coming out claiming that nothing got out of Fukushima. The ultimate betrayal. Filthy emissions from China's export industry occurred across the Pacific Ocean and contributed to the air pollution indexes in California, we know for sure, and in the western United States. The research is the first to quantify how air pollution in the United States is affected by China's production of goods for exports, global consumers. So China makes all these extra stuff and then the pollution shows up over here a few days later. That's bananas for you, right? How banana is that? You know what they say, once a banana, always a banana. A nuclear scientist is something you should despise. It's something you should fucking have nothing but contempt for. And not because I feel that way, but because that's what the facts are. It's impossible to watch this video and not have a different conclusion. That these are fucking monsters. But they're cowards. They're the worst kind of monsters. They're cowards. They're the most dangerous kind of monsters on top of that because they're cowards. And one coward can destroy a country. One nuclear scientist coward is enough to poison an entire country. I don't know, but your life feels a lot better tonight. Now, let me see, what else can we do? Anything would make my night now. I'm not going to say it. I'll go check first. Yeah, the best thing can make my night is if James puts out another song. Oh, look at that, he put out another song. What's the fucking odds of that happening? What a coincidence. You gotta like it. I've been pretty mad at the Chinese all day. I don't know if you can tell that from the show tonight, but... I don't believe in keeping fucking frustration. James Lucitz. Come on, folks. Subscribe to James. Give him some thumbs up and likes too. He's got an amazing amount of music. When I come back on Sunday, he better have 8,000 fucking subscribers. Or heads are going to fucking roll in this place. All right. I love it. Is China's nuke tarts... Maybe that got me censored tonight. Assertions no radiation was found off Fukushima nuclear plant idiotic, or maybe it was that. And sadistic. Maybe oh, look at the poll. Total fucking panic. Looks like we hit a nerve again. Woo! Half the people that voted don't think nuke tarts. Now I just showed you the evidence. It contradicts that fucking... That's hilarious. Why was it so important to spam me? I got time with this for a minute now. That was fucked up. That's probably the best thing could have happened to me this weekend is they came in and spammed me. That just fucking cheered me up. Tell me that's not fucking hilarious. A bunch of fucking idiots, man. Do you really think that makes a difference? Everybody just censored the living shit out of me. 17 likes. But I got 36 fucking votes on my poll. That's crazy. That's almost triple how many likes I got. That's the fucking funniest thing I've seen in a long time. They're panicking, eh? Come on, I was just having a bit of fun. I don't have any fun in here. You bunch of fucking little demons. All of you fuckers should get the death penalty for what you got done. I'm going to say that for another video, I guess. Okay. So, I'm going to just... I hate the volume turned off. I'm going to adjust it for you guys on your end, if you're not familiar. I'll close the poll down after. That's a new song James just published. Awesome. And we'll catch you on Sunday night. Maybe I'll be civil. Maybe I won't. Who fucking knows? Take care.
Modular fire in a military dream. Low yield push 10 kiloton clean. Sandy sign, liver more paid. Budget approved as the warning decayed. Precise, efficient, quietly sold. Shipped in foam, sealed in code. Stealth wrap for a global load. B2 launch, B21 glide. Policy reads nowhere to hide. Internal brief, mark strategic need. Filed through rooms the public won't read. Deterrence fed in corporate gloss. Power without a line to cross. Ahead of schedule. Clock reads go. Frame the strike is status quo. Ahead of schedule. Streamline toggle the yield from drone to throne. Ahead of schedule. Filed and fed. Press the threat like it's overhead. Ahead of schedule. Doctrine show. No one left to call Earth home. They said we built to never strike, but filings move at budget spike. Votes pass before review. The fuse is preset right on cue. Trial zones built in software clay. Simulation losses filed away. Payload sleep in carbon vault. Target fed without a fault. No dissent in classified rooms. Redacted lines decide the tombs. We mapped the blast, then ran the ad. Road extinction in a lab. Ahead of schedule. Schedule set. Trigger framed as continent rent. Ahead of schedule. No delay. Test the ghost, deny the day. Ahead of schedule. Built for now. Flash the warhead, brief the crowd. Ahead of schedule. Countdown close. Click the sky, collapse composed.
not a warning, and the future was ahead of schedule.